Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We do hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us as we bring to you first reaction to Tottenham Hotspur's first uncompetitive game of the season. And it's Ange Postecoglou's first game as Tottenham Hotspur head coach. Yes, you're thinking these poor boys. It's another manager. It's another manager. It's the start of the train. Listen, he was quoting Macca the other week. He was calling it the bloody crazy train. We've all got a ticket for it. We're joined by, of course, three great returning regular panelists to Last One on Spurs. You're going to see a lot of them on your screen once again for this upcoming season. Look how happy they are as I say that. Look at them. They look so excited and gleeful and happy about that. If you are listening to the show for the first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on Twitter at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And before we duck right into the football, let's just ask these guys how they've been. Some of them have been away for a little bit. Obviously, Ricks and Cracks have had their annual leave granted. Poor Pat has battled his way through pre-season. Everything that's come of it so far. Cracks, lovely to be back on the screen. How are you, my friend? You okay?
Yes, very well. Thank you, Rick, and everyone. It seems like a lifetime ago that I was last on. I think there's probably been 6 or 7 managers since I was last here. But no, nice to be back.
Just want to let you know, Cracks, yeah, Yoel went a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Man alive.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's gutting. I tell you what, we do well to have a punt on Harry Redknapp. I think, I reckon he might do all right. Call me
got the connections you have, if there's a chance of him coming back, you'll get him on.
I'll give him a quick bell. Yeah, I've not spoke to Harry for a few weeks actually. I must have a little catch up with him. But if anybody can propel us into the Champions League, it'll be Harry Redknapp. Do you know what? Back in the day, if you'd have said this man will get us to the Champions League, you'd be like, no, come on, stop it now. But look, that's just the crazy nature of football, isn't it? It really is the crazy, crazy nature of football. But I'm all well, Rick, and it's nice to be back and nice to see Patrick and yourself, Rick, and the other Rick, and some familiar names in the comments as well. So, and don't forget, in the time I was away as well, Rick, I did become Tottenham's leading body language expert, didn't I, as well, with Regulon at the airport. So anything you need to know about body language, I'm your man, okay?
I mean, I was going to ask you if Threads was actually created just for you personally to get away from Twitter at the time.
Oh man, I'll be talking about people that have had both their kidneys out next. I couldn't do any worse, could I, after yesterday and that showing on Twitter? But no, it's nice to be back. And just to touch briefly on today before we get into it, I'll put a hat on tonight so I can take it off. Look to Ange Postecoglou.
Look at that.
And giving us something that's beginning to resemble what looks like Tottenham Hotspur brand of football. So long way to go yet, but yes, it looked like Tottenham today. Hurrah. Chapeau.
Not like us at carry around this show, is it? On the basis of 90 minutes. We never know, never doubt it. One man back on our screens. Lovely to have him here. He's enjoyed his annual leave. He's back with, I think, refreshed optimism. He's been already lookalike an AKA Manor Solomon. We've got the wonderful British very own, British wonderful actor, Ricky J. Norwood. Ricks, you've been called many things on this show. Welcome, Manor. How are you, bud? You okay?
I know. We've got Solomon over here. We've got Bentancur over there. I think Cracks can be Ange and Patrick can be Tanganga. I think we're set. We can go on tour, boys. We can go on tour.
I'll tell you, wait, it's game. We're all going to get a game if Ange's in charge. He's taking everyone, isn't he?
Well, listen. Look, I'm just really happy that firstly, the season has ended and it now begun. We've got a new era to talk about. We've got new things to see. We've got new green shoots to pull out. We've got new subjects. Instead of going over the same old, week in, week out, We've got a lot more to talk about.
Hold
It
on,
was
hold on,
only
Rick. Can I
90
just
minutes.
politely remind you? Did you see that defence that played today? Are you sure it's?
Yeah. So some things are the same old. But I'm sure we'll jump in. We will jump in.
Yeah.
We know what the glaring problems are, but look, there was a lot more things that I was pleased with than the negatives. Do you know what I mean? Then I was displeased with.
Yeah.
In fact, even the defense. I know we're going to jump into the defense, but I'm really happy that we conceded those goals, and I'm really happy that not only Ange saw what he's got in defense, but Mr. Levy and his traveling partner Donna Cullen, who's been traveling with the squad. All of the things are there. You can see all of the things are there, and all we need is to go out there, get a couple of top centre backs, and I think that we could be cooking. But like loads of good things to be talking about. And the best thing is that we didn't see no horseshoe football. We didn't see no tiki-taka around the goalkeeper and no horseshoe possession football. My gosh, it was quick, it was fluid. They were looking for each other, and this is just the beginning. They've only been together 10 days, some 7, some 2. So loads to pick up on, loads to be positive about, and fingers crossed they do the things that they need to do so that we can start positively in the Premiership.
Yeah, I agree.
Rick, can I just pick up there on what Ricky said about Donna and Daniel being on the tour, and they were dressed in the training kit, wasn't they? Out and shaking hands, the same as the players. It was massive vibes of when Boris Johnson went on that police raid and put like the police uniform on, wasn't it? It's like, what are you doing there, mate? Go away, you're running the country. Like, leave this to the experts. Stop putting on like police hats and vests and going out and like, go away, Donna. Go away, Daniel. Like, I know you own the club for sure, but that's not your space. Go away. Don't be walking around shaking hands with the players and everything. Go away. Go and do deals. Go and run some go-karts or something.
Crackers, it was a show of defiance is the way it was. After all of the criticism that board has received and will continue to receive unless they unless they stop making the mistakes that they always make. I think it was a show of defiance that they ain't going nowhere and that they're there to back the team. And even when we've criticised Donna Cullen, do you know what I mean? I think that's why her presence was there, and they made sure that they got those photo opportunities. They made sure that they shook all their hands. They made sure they wore the apparel. They made sure they had the cockerel on their chest for a reason. And I think it was a sign to all of us that, whether we like it or not, they ain't going nowhere just yet. They've still got some work to do. So that's what I think that they were out there doing, Cracks.
Yep. Fair dues.
Pat,
they own it, I suppose. It's their toy. Take it away. Carry on.
Literally a toy, isn't it, the way it is? Pat, let's bring you in, mate. Love to have you back on Last Word on Spurs. It's been no real break for you, mate. You've carried on going throughout the summer, and all the power to you. And now we've done this, mate. It's been I think now, though, we're getting towards what we call the nitty-gritty stage. It's nearly here upon us, the Premier League season, of course. Still, as we enter pre-season, it'll be really interesting to see how this Spurs team does adapt in these next few weeks, which you're going to be a massive part of to see how this pre-season does pan out. Before we get into the football, Pat, how are you personally? You good?
Yeah, I'm brilliant, man. It was really good and refreshing to see the game on at a decent UK time, because obviously being down under and there being such a time swing, I thought we'd have to stay up like 2, 3 or 4 in the morning. But thankfully, even if we did, the football was entertaining and exciting. It would have kept us awake. So, yeah, I mean, early days, obviously we're going to get into it, but I was pleasantly surprised with what I saw. It was great to see everyone back, bar obviously a few, Son wasn't there and a few others. And yeah, I just thought it was I saw someone yesterday get an autograph from Daniel Levy and they posted it on Twitter. And I was thinking, why would you want to get his signature of all signatures? So I don't know. For me, I found that weird, but I guess seeing the team and being in Australia, not being around the team, maybe they got excited. But yeah, that was a weird one for me. But other than that, it's great to see different fan bases embrace the team and take them under their wing, so to speak. So yeah, man, it's good to be here. Good to see the team back. And yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's get talking. Let's get cracking.
Let's get cracking. Let's bring in Mr. Crackers if he doesn't mind. Cracks, we start with a 3-2 friendly defeat. So a very young West Ham side, actually, with no internationals, in which Postecoglou Spurs had 32 shots on goal. Yes, 32 shots on goal to the Hammers 4. And what was also quite remarkable is it was 23 shots in the box. There were some really bright attacking performances from Spurs, and of course that we had way more of the chances, the possession. But yet again, as we've said numerous times on Last Word on Spurs, it's sloppy defending that ultimately cost us. But on the whole, I have to say, look, I'm incredibly impressed with how that squad has seemingly very quickly learned so much of the Postecoglou attacking patterns that Rick alluded to there. Because as Rick's also said, some of these players have been there a couple of days, some have been there a week, some have been there 2 weeks. But I have to say already, it was like watching a completely different side squad to last season. And, I still can't get used to the fact that there's 5 or 6 Spurs players attacking in an opposition box. So, look, whilst it isn't the result we wanted, what did you take out for you, Crackers?
Well, just look at the smile on our faces this evening, the upbeat mood that it's given us. So, that tells you everything. Infused, I think, is a good word for it, Rick. We're happy to see it. The result. Look, the only people that worry about results in pre-season friendlies are those that repost missing dogs in Canada but live in Lancashire or something, aren't they? It's just, it's just weird. If you're worried about score lines, the stats are very telling. 4 shots and they got 3 goals from them. So that tells you where our problems lie. And then we had, 167 shots? It was. There you go. Look,
yeah,
shots on target.
Here. It's
13. Yeah. It's incredible. 685 passes. There you go. It's 90% pass accuracy. The pleasing thing, Rick, is that I wasn't really expecting us to be playing Angeball, for want of a better term, for the players to have actually got what it is that he wants after the last 2-3 managers and the last, when do we go back to Nuno? What's that, 4 or 5 years now, is it?
4.5 years, yeah.
4.5 years. So you've had 4.5 years of muscle memory that you've got to unlearn, if you like. And today, I just wasn't expecting to see us play in such a Ange Postecoglou way, but we did. So I'm going to try and remain positive here and take that as a base to build off of and go with. It's a risky type of football as well. I think, as I said a few weeks ago, we'll probably be handed a few hidings as this all beds in, but I think we'll give a few out as well. If you're a betting person, then probably our goals for and against, if you can get a bet on with that as being the leading goal scored, could well be a good bet to take. So I just liked it. It's not something you can describe. It's just something that looked very Tottenham. It's something that I grew up watching. It was a type of football from today's game that, listen, we might play Leicester and stink the ass out. Yeah, who knows? But we can only go on what we saw today. It looks a type of football that a Hoddle would like to play, that a Ginola would like to play, that a Gascoigne would like to play. It just looked a little bit like what we've all been brought up on. So I was excited back in the day when Conte came, like a lot of people was. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, and that type of football just does not suit us as a fan base and the whole psyche of the club. So yeah, it was great to see. On another day, Rick, a couple of those shots go in. They let that goal lived a charmed life. There was a couple of penalties, which I'm sure we'll get into as well. Today could have been 7-3. It absolutely could have been 7-3. But there was also a couple of times where a cute ball over the top of us, because we was playing such a high line, we was absolutely all over the place. There was just nobody there. Vicario was stuck on his line, so he needs to play forward a little bit, sweeper keeper a bit more. So, But I enjoyed it, Rick. I enjoyed it. I watched with a smile on my face, and that's all you can ask for, is to be entertained.
Absolutely. Rick's come over to you. Look, if you do take away the awful individual mistakes defensively, you've got to say that was a pretty positive start of the Ange Postecoglou era. I mean, we dominated West Ham for pretty much all game, created a lot of chances to score. We kept possession. We pressed the opposition. And again, I'll say this, that's what a lot of fans would want. I'm not saying all fans, but a lot of fans would want. I think when you see that, there is a confidence that the way we're playing, that results would eventually come with that style. But it's a lot of positives to obviously take. I think we know how we can fix the negatives. I think we all know that based on the fact the window is still here. And in my opinion, if we do buy a couple of genuine top class centre-backs, this could be one of the most exciting things we've had in a long time. So, Rix, how do you reflect on it for you?
Mate, first and foremost, I totally agree with what you just saying there. For me, what really impressed me was the speed of play. How they got from defense to attack really, really quickly, especially in that first half. It was great to see Solomon on the field, and it was good to see. What I noticed about his highlights before he turned up was not so much the attacking and the dribbling, was that he was very much a fighter. He was very much up for the fight. He does get his tackles in. He does, cover the left back as well. And he was up for it. He was electric. There was a lot of positives for me. It was like a totally new squad with the amount of loan players that came back. For me, there was a couple of shakes, but for me, it was good to see Reguilon back. I always liked Reguilon as a player. Yes, that there are some rash challenges. And I think the only thing that really kind of hurt him today was he slipped. And when he was playing for us, he slipped a couple of times that left us in bad positions, and we normally conceded from those positions. So when he slipped today as well, it kind of reminded me of those old memories of Reguilon in his negative patches. But he's strong on the ball. He's got a strong tackle. He's got a good cross on him. For me, it was nice to see Tanganga as well. And I know there's a lot of supporters that are going to be getting me for praising, but I can only go on what I see. And a bit like the manager, I'm giving everybody a bit of a clean slate. Do you know what I mean? Apart from those that really have to get out of the club, but I'm giving pretty much 98% of that squad a clean slate. And I looked at Tanganga as, especially when he was coming through, very much a prospect, never really got a run of games. When he was in a negative patch, he was, it was hard to get him out of that negative patch. When we look at the style of football that we have played under the previous managers and under Ange today, it was night and day. It was absolutely night and day. So to see Tanganga take a couple of risky passes, majority of them got through, a couple of them got cut out. I thought that was positive. He looked stronger. He looked more athletic. He looked faster. He looked better in the block and better in the tackle than Dyer and Longley combined for me. And that was only one half of football. I know it's only one half of football, but I saw a lot of positives. Seeing Basuma looks like a totally different player. Not only on the field today for 45 minutes, but you saw him in training and these training videos that we've been seeing and the little clips here and there. He looks like a totally different player. And I think that we're going to be a totally different side with him being encouraged to play the way that he wants to play. I would have loved to have seen Kulu in a number 8 position today. I would have loved to have seen him where Skip was today, just as an experiment, while it's a friendly, just to see, and see Porro on the wing. But to me, it was a really night and day performance from what we've seen. And yes, these are very early days, very, very early days. That second half 11, when I saw Davies and Sanchez as the centre back partnership, I was kind of like, but even that, this is what I was saying at the beginning, even that, those goals that we conceded, the way that we conceded them, I think they're all positives, because this is where you make your mistakes. You make your mistakes now so that the manager is very clear on what he needs to do and what he needs to achieve before we get into the season. He and a lot of reporters have already said that it's going to take a little while to get into Angeball, but they've only been working together a week or so, and we saw a lot more than what I was expecting. You've got to remember that West Ham I think this was their 3rd game in pre-season already. They've had a manager and a system that they've been working for years. And that was probably the best that West Ham are going to play, today. But we are nowhere near the best that we are going to play. That was the beginning. And if the bar is set that high right now, I'm really excited for what's to come next. So for me, it was positives all over the park, even the goals being conceded. Because again, like I said earlier, that it just screams to the board. Get yourself a top defender. And people will say we're not in Europe. People will say we haven't got Champions League. Well, you know what? Nor is Chelsea. And what Chelsea show us is that money talks when it comes down to big boy players. So if you want a big boy player, go out there and pay what you got to pay to go and get him in. If he's going to transform your side, go out there and go and get it done. I am a little bit apprehensive about Vicario. He did look very kind of... the goal looked like it swallowed him up a bit. There was a couple of great shot-stopping saves, but my fear, as when we signed him, was that he didn't look great on crosses. And, once you fire a shot into him, he parries it back into the 6-yard box, which, for any side out there, it's an easy tactic. Whether you're taking a long shot or a short shot, just make sure that there's a runner in there to kind of go again. So I am a little bit kind of, it's only his first 45 minutes, but I am a little bit kind of, I don't know. You can't judge him. He hasn't got the centre-backs in front of him as yet. So, and they haven't worked on a defensive system as yet. So there's still a lot more to come. But I'm not judging him right now. I'm not panicking. I'm just a little bit apprehensive. You're on mute, Rix. You're doing a me.
No, you're absolutely spot on there. I mean, I think what was interesting is that for the first 9 minutes of a pre-season with two completely different 11s, that was, as we've kind of said, it was definitely quite entertaining. I think it's just a case, as we've said here, it's not just new faces we need in defence. It's also adapting to a 4 at the back rather than a 5. And also mistakes and overcommitting moving forward is going to be a real balance for how Postecoglou is going to work this certain specific system. But Pat, coming over to you, however, for a pre-season friendly, we've said it's more entertaining than any of the competitive matches that we've probably seen in the last 6 months of last season. Dare I say, you could go back any further. So really intrigued to get to your thoughts on it, Pat. Many want to know your thoughts of the first 90 minutes of the Postecoglou era. And such is the adaptability and flexibility of this show, I've got to get my kids from the car. And if I'm not back in time, Senior Cracknell will carry on hosting this show in my absence. Such is the professional nature of this. So, Pat, I'm going to hand around to you and leave the trusted hands of Crackers who will keep us rolling here as I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Over to you, Pat.
Cool. Nice one, Ricky. Cool. My thoughts. I thought it was I was worried, not worried actually, but I was actually really intrigued and excited, and looking forward to seeing what would happen today. It could have went a number of ways. We're playing a decent Premier League team who, let's be honest, have just won a European trophy. I've had the same manager, like Ricky said, for the last 3 or 4 years. Pretty much most of the players there are seasoned pros and veterans, and it could have been a spanking, to be honest. And West Ham were always up for playing us. We're a big scout for them, and we kind of went in there quite vulnerable. So to see us from the get-go play an attacking brand of football, take the game to them, which is something that I've not seen us do in such a long time. Regardless of the opposition, we always seem to be on the back foot, defending, camped in our own half, and fighting and for dear life. Well, this time around we were attacking. We literally were. It was so frustrating to concede the goals that we did, because other than the shots on target, they had nothing for us. Literally nothing. And every time they took a shot, essentially they scored. So that is worrying. It's annoying. And it's worrying because defensively, it seems that we switch off and we always allow the other team to score, irrespective of how good or how crap they are. Because West Ham shouldn't have won that game today. I know it's pre-season. To be honest, I'm not really bothered about the result. For me, it's just about the performance. If you see an attacking intent, if you see an identity, if you see a style of football, it's about players getting energy and minutes in the legs, getting the juices flowing, and obviously just understanding what the manager wants. And I saw that from the first 11 through to the second 11. So 22 players. It was good that Ange actually had a clear, he really wants to see everyone, which is cool. He's given everyone a fair share, giving them all equal minutes. So at the end of the pre-season, and if he does decide on who he does or doesn't want, we can all say that he's been fair and given them all an equal run out. So, you hate to see on these pre-seasons where you take a big squad or you take players and they don't get a run out. And you're like, what was the point of taking them? how is the manager ever going to decide if a player's good enough or not good enough if they never get the chance? We saw Ange give everyone a fair shot, which is really exciting and encouraging. In terms of from an attacking aspect, we were brilliant. I know it's early days, the first 45 minutes, for each player, but yeah, just defensively, the same kind of stuff again. Vicario, like you said, Ricky, for me, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the Last Word on Spurs podcast, which I've been on. I didn't want Vicario. I wasn't set on him at all. I wanted David Raya. My heart was set on David Raya. We understand how good he is. I think he's one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. It's only that he was at Brentford that people were kind of down talking him. When you I understand it a bit better now. When you see Onana go for 43 million and they wanted 40 million for David Raya, I can kind of understand why we maybe didn't pull the trigger on it. But also, I do feel David Raya is, at this moment in time, a better goalkeeper than Vicario. So when you're changing so much, you've got a new manager, new goalkeeper, essentially we're going to have a new back line and everything going on. It would have been, in my opinion, better to have a more solid goalkeeper for this moment in time. But to be fair to Vicario, I didn't see anything which alarmed me. I thought he was really good in terms of his reflexes. Amazing. That shot from Jared Bowen, he definitely should have scored. I don't know how he saved that. And to keep it out with such a solid, strong wrist, that was very impressive for me. His reflexes look good. He's willing to pass the ball around. He did kind of leave me in a bit of a panic when he almost got caught out when he was playing out from the back. A few people on social media got onto him about the goals that we conceded. I don't think that was his fault. For the first goal that was conceded, Reguilon should have done much better. And even for the corner, Danny Ings for the first goal. Was it Danny Ings that scored the first goal? I think it was. Yeah. Reguilon just let him ghost in front of him, and he was very weak defensively. The second goal, we just switched off. And again, 2 point blank headers. You can't really blame him for that. So I thought he had a decent game. Again, 45 minutes in the tank for him. He looked decent. And Basuma looked really good. We're seeing literally a new lease of life from that guy. And I think this season we're going to see basically the player that we thought we signed initially from Brighton. He looks fantastic on the ball. He's wanting the ball in every sort of situation. He's really essentially a press-resistant midfielder, running at players, creating nice angles to pass the ball off. And yeah, he looked really good for me. And Manor Solomon as well. I thought he looked fantastic today, man. I know we only saw him in little stints, but live, direct, energetic, good with the ball. He's got like a low center of gravity. I don't want to compare him to Hazard, but he's got that kind of Hazard dribbling notion or style with him. And he caused them problems as well. So there was lots of positives for both halves. And I liked what I saw. I liked that Ange was brave enough to essentially take the game to them. And I was impressed with what I saw, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Pat. I mean, there's been some very good football at points in that game, and we've all made that point that we know the defence needs major surgery. But on its first outing, as all you boys have alluded to, the attacking play and the patterns just look so much better than what we've been put through over the last 3 to 4 years. And look, there's some way to go. Here's a promising start. But if you ask the players to play to their strengths, even those players that have been much maligned early days, of course, because we have been putting, to be honest with you, square pegs in round holes for the last 2-3 seasons as a minimum. So it is going to take some time naturally for that all to bed in, for it all to come together. But just some news that we are getting through this evening is that Spurs are set to capitalise on Blackburn's financial cutbacks with a deal for young centre-back prospect Ashley Phillips, which should be finalised tomorrow, and that, of course, being Wednesday. The Starlet will then travel to Asia immediately to be with Spurs' first team. That's coming from James Nursey as part of the Daily Mirror. So one to keep an eye on. One centre-back, it looks like Spurs are set to get over the line. Probably the one out of the 3 being mentioned that's not maybe at the top of the list. I think it's fair to say Spurs fans very excited, eagerly, hopefully awaiting the arrival of either Mickey van der Ven or Edmund Tapsoba. But it appears as of this evening, Spurs are closing in on Blackburn centre-back Ashley Phillips. What we are going to do, we are going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners and audio. Taking into that break, you're going to hear from Spurs' new head coach, Ange Postecoglou. And for our watching audience on YouTube, we've got over 1,000 plus of you here watching us live. Again, thank you so much for all of your incredible support for the show. We're joined back by returning annual leavies in Mr. Richard Cracknell.
Oh, is that the new name for these lot?
I tell you what, that
annual levy out. And you'll leave it out.
What have I done there? What have I done there? And Britain's very own Ricky Norwood. People think I practice it off air. I really don't. It doesn't know where it comes from.
Rick, when we get chucked off the show, is that a Cullen? Are we all getting a Cullen? We're on annual leavies, and when you're back and not wanting it anymore, it's a Cullen. I'm culling him.
I will most certainly let you decide that, and also talk about the wonderful Patrick Tyrant on this last one on Spurs. Right, guys, we're going to discuss the team from today. So, as always, we try and share that with you ahead of the show. So, this was the team that started the first half for Tottenham Hotspur. So, Harry Kane, James Maddison, Vicario were handed their first starts by Ange Postecoglou, of course, in his first game in charge. In terms of that starting 11, as we've said, Vicario, fresh from his summer move, straight in between the six. The back four consisted of Pedro Porro, Christian Romero, Japhet Tanganga, and Sergio Reguilon. In midfield, Oliver Skipp started after playing in the European Championships just 10 days ago, with Yves Bissouma and James Maddison alongside him. That team was then completed by Harry Kane as the captain, flanked by new signing Manor Solomon and Dejan Kulusevski. It's worth pointing out that Tungi and Ndombele, who appeared to need treatment in Monday's training session, and Heung-min Son were not in the squad, as was not Eric Dyer, Joe Rodon, Dane Scarlett and Jed Spence, who also missed out on being among the 14 subs, as did young goalkeeper Josh Keeley. Some, of course, went back from injury, and also, as we've mentioned, it's a very, very big squad to fit into the team and the allocated bench. That Tottenham team red, obviously, of course, Vicario in goal, Porro, Romero, Tanganga, Reguilon, Skipp, Bissouma, Maddison, Kulusevski, Kane, Solomon, with the bench at the time of Austin, Whiteman, Emerson, Sanchez, Udogie, Davis, Sarr, White, Devine, Højbjerg, Perisic, Lo Celso, Richarlison. Let's get the thoughts on this. Pat, let's go to you. What did you make of the team when that came out?
Yeah, I was excited, and I thought, funny enough, my friends and I picked, or we estimated or guessed the starting lineup, and I pretty much got it spot on. Other than Solomon, I didn't think he would start, but other than that, it was bang on of who I thought would start for the first game. I like the pairing of Tanganga and Romero. I know Tanganga is somebody who, at 24 now, isn't young but isn't old. We all, as Spurs fans, thought he would be much more advanced in his career. But I do want to see him, if he does stay with us, given a proper chance, because whenever he's played, he's looked good. But then he'll play 2 or 3 games and then not play for 6 months or 7 months. And then he's thrown in the deep end in the game and expected to perform. And no player, regardless of how good you are, can really get a good run of rhythm and moment. So I liked pairing him with Romero because I feel that essentially out of all the components we got left is the strongest back line. Sergio Reguilon, I like him going forwards, but defensively, as I stated earlier, he's very weak. He needs to improve massively if he wants to be, in the team and a regular component of our, first 11 or even rotated as the wing backs. I just feel that he just, at his age now, he's about 26, 27. He needs to bulk up a bit, man. He needs to get in the gym because, like I said, going forward, he's actually really good. But defensively, he always seems to get knocked off the ball, weak in the air. He's always falling over as well, which I don't know what's going on. At this, sort your studs out or sort your balance out, sort your core out. Because, Jared Bowen had him on toast for the first goal, created problems. And, yeah, essentially that's where the problems arose. And they just seem to attack that side of the pitch. Pedro Porro looked decent. Like I said earlier, Bissouma, I really enjoyed his role today. He looked really good. Maddison, we all know his qualities. I feel at moments he was almost over trying, which is expected when you're a brand new big signing. Your first game, you could see he was a bit, at first he wasn't as comfortable as he usually looks. We all know how good he is on the ball, how silky he is. But as the game, progressed, you could see he was getting a bit more comfortable. I thought Oliver Skipp, again, I don't want to sound too harsh, but I wasn't impressed by his performance at all. I liked how Ange essentially pushed him forward as one of our advanced number 8s. So he was getting into the ball late, into the box late, making good runs, but he just doesn't have the quality or the skill to finish off or make that final pass. And I think, was it Crackers who maybe said it, or maybe it's Ricky, I can't remember. If we had Kulusevski playing in that position, I guarantee we would have had a few more goals in that first half, because Skipp just doesn't have the quality in the nous to either shoot a decent shot on target or find someone who's running in behind. Kane didn't do much, but you know Harry Kane. All he needs is one or two good chances, and he's in.
Yep.
A few good link-up plays. Maddison tried to find them a few times and it didn't work. But all in all, I thought it was a very good performance, very good first half, apart from a few defensive errors. And like I said, I would rather not have Skip in that advanced number 8 role. But other than that, I thought it was a good first half. Solomon, I was really impressed with, to be fair. I mean, he's somebody who's coming on a free. A lot of people raise their eyebrows. We're only going for him because he's a free, and if there was a fee involved, would we have went for him? Blah blah blah. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I do think he does add quality depth, and he is someone who, if someone is injured or we need to rotate, he does provide very good depth and good quality. So yeah, I liked what I saw today. My only gripe would be Oliver Skip in that advanced role. I don't think he's suited to it. And Sergio Reguilon needs to do better defensively. But I don't want to go in too much. It's only the first 45 minutes for these guys. All in all, a good team performance.
Yeah, so I think we're not going to cover the first half too much, but we will have to, unfortunately, review, to Rick's painful in nature, the goals that we did concede. But before we do, Postecoglou said actually after the game that Tanguy got a knock in training yesterday on his ankle, of course, that being Monday. Nothing serious. It kept him out, obviously, of the game. Sonny's only done 2 sessions since he arrived with us. We made the decision not to use him. He worked hard in training, him and Eric Dyer, Jed Spence and Joe Rodon. They are guys that came in late and hopefully they'll be ready to play their part in the next couple of games. There you go. Who says you can bring the mood down? Eric Dyer. Pat, I bet you're happy for Sunday. Eric Dyer probably liked to play, so what a way to get someone back on side. What's there to worry about? All positiveness. Right. I think you could see from the beginning of the game that, Postecoglou's instructions were being followed. We saw Basuma split the centre-backs to get the ball, and Reguilon came right inside into that central midfield point. And the first couple of chances did fall to Tottenham. Reguilon played Solomon in, who put ball run through to Skip. He took a touch on the move and his shot was saved by Fabianski. But it was really good work, as Pat alluded to, from Solomon. Skippy, of course, going close in the opening interval as well. So there was some lovely football early on from Tottenham, who looked dangerous and had most of the ball. And this is the thing with Tottenham. We saw in those early interchanges that Tottenham were definitely the side dominating play. So when West Ham did eventually score, Rick, it was very much against the run of play. Danny Ings headed home after Spurs failed to properly clear a set piece. I'm not sure how many times I've said that to you on Last One on Spurs, failing to clear a set piece. It was really poor defending from Sergio Reguilon, who tried to use his foot rather than challenge for the header with the Hammers man. And he was simply beaten to the ball. Not great defending at all. I think we all acknowledge that it's pre-season. We're not going to go overboard here. But already, Rick, concerns. It's a side that conceded a lot of goals last season. As you've said numerous times already here, needs a shake-up, doesn't it?
Yeah, but, again, with that goal conceded, I think it's a positive, because when you're playing this type of front-footed football, when you're always on the press, when you are dominating possession and shots and crosses, and you're dominating the game, we're going to be the ones that are on the receiving end of counter-attacks. And these are the type of goals that we're going to start to concede, right? So it's better. I would prefer us to do it right now and fix the problem, or try our hardest to work towards fixing the problem, than to go in blind when it comes down to the Premiership, or once we start the real business. So, on Reguilon, he was in hospital. I mean, Cracks could probably tell you a bit more because of the whole Spanish connection, but he was in hospital for a long time at Atletico Madrid. He hardly got any minutes at all. I can't remember what pain it was, but he was in excruciating pain. I remember seeing those Instagram posts. And, he's finding his feet again. This is basically a new squad. Yes, there's some old faces that are still there, but this is basically a new squad. It's a new way of playing. This type of inverted left back and right back. New way of playing. What I found really interesting from the boss was that he kind of took the blame for the goals that was conceded, because they haven't worked on defensive shape or where to be when they're in defense. And he spoke about positioning. He said that, the boys have been working well. They've been working hard in training, and they've got no choice but to work hard. But they're still working out where the positions are. So when the fullbacks overlap, so where do the wingers go? Where does the midfield split? Where do they cross over? Where's the link-up play there? And considering they haven't got that sorted yet, we saw a hell of a lot of link-up play. We saw a hell of a lot of the link-up play and the overlapping with Solomon and Reguilon on that left-hand side, especially in the first half. So look, some of the same old problems are still there, but this is what this period of time is for, so that Big Ange can see who he wants and who he doesn't want. Now, the two defenders that we have been linked with, Tapsoba and Mickey van der Ven, would totally transform this whole defensive line. Having somebody who's at his peak, and in Tapsoba, and is composed, and has speed, knows when to make the tackle, knows how to get his head on things. Fantastic. To have someone like Mickey van der Ven, who's still pretty raw, but technically good, but is rapid. That type of pace is going to help us. And I will take your memories, all of you Spurs fans listening and watching right now, I'll take your memories back to the beginning days of Kyle Walker, where Kyle Walker had blistering pace, still has pace today, but was a bit raw when he came into the side. He had a loan out of Aston Villa, and you saw him build, and you saw him score a couple, and it got exciting. But once he did come into the Tottenham side, it took him a little while. A lot of the complaints that I remember back then was that Walker couldn't defend. Do you know what I mean? But his pace got him out of trouble. That was the argument back then. Obviously, he worked on it and he got better as the seasons went on. And obviously, when he's moved as well. So when I go back to someone like Mickey van der Ven, who is the same type of raw element, but can play as a centre-back, left-sided centre-back, or a left-sided left-back, I think that those two purchases could transform our whole back line and could transform the way that we play moving forward. So, for instance, if we was to sell Reguilon, or Reguilon then became the third left back, or whatever the case may be, you could put Mickey van der Ven as a defensive left back and have Porro as the offensive right back, right? And then so when you've got that movement and that fluidity of shape and how to cover each other as well. And I think that was another thing that was interesting about the starting lineups in training the other day. I don't know whether you saw the tweet of the starting lineups in training the other day, but it was basically the starting lineup in the first half was the first team, was one team, and the second team that we saw in the tweet and in training was the half that went on in the second half. And I really liked that he had, so with Reguilon in the side, Reguilon's basically the more defensive left back, and you're allowing Porro to go. And then when you bring Udogie in, Udogie's the more attacking left back, and Emerson's the more defensive one. So right now we've got options. We've got options to play with, and right now we've got a lot more to discover about this side. And that's all what I was actually also pleased with as well, was that when we changed the whole 11 in the second half, they continued to play the same way. Now, again, some of them, maybe their time is done at Tottenham, but the 11, they played in the same way. I thought Papa Sarr looked tremendous in midfield. He looks like he's about 9 foot tall right now. Lo Celso, who I never thought would kick another ball with a Tottenham cockerel on his chest, he looked like he was made for that position. Looked really good. I saw more out of him in those first 45 minutes than I did when he was playing for us. We've also got Ndombele to come back, which I know the whole body language, and we'll get into Crackers' body language assessment in a little while. But apart from that walk from the car to the door, right, his body language in training has looked quite good. He's looked up for it. I've seen him sprinting. A lot of the time when he was at Tottenham before, he used to run like that hat was really heavy. He used to run like this all the time, like the whole time. But you know what? He had his head down and he was sprinting, and he's focused. And that's what's encouraging to me, Yeah. Go on, Rich. What are you going to say?
No, I mean, I think, listen, totally agree. I mean, I'm not going to get away from the fact that I still think defensively, I am massively concerned, Cracks. You look at today again, the second goal. Vicario puts one behind. I'm already laughing. It's not funny, this already. Vicario puts one behind for a corner. Oh, I can already see. I can already see when he shows a go next season. I joke. There's a lot of positives as well. The second goal for West Ham, Mbama gets in between Porro and Tanganga to head out from close range. And the bright start we had was completely undone in that first 25 minutes. And yet it's another goal from a corner. Vicario, for whatever reason, I don't understand why he decided to pass the ball straight out. But it was a short 1-2 with Emerson, whose cross is nodding in by Mbama. Look, it's 2 mistakes for 2 goals. We are lucky it's pre-season. And you would feel on the back of that game, Cracks, if we're not going to accelerate our pursuit for defenders. And again, I must make that point. There is some breaking news this evening. Tottenham are closing in on the signing of Blackburn central defender Ashley Phillips. It probably won't be the name you all want to hear, but that's one that Spurs looks to be closing in on, Cracks. Surely now you would expect Tottenham to accelerate in this area, wouldn't you?
Oh, listen, au contraire, Rick. Ashley Phillips is exactly the name I want to hear. We've been after him for 2 years. 2 years we've been tracking this lad. He's 6'4". He's a lump. He's fast, right? That doesn't mean he's going to come in and be first choice. But if he comes in as an option whilst he's developing, and then we bring a couple of tailor-mades in, isn't that where we want us to be?
Do you think we'll do that,
we've
Cracks?
got?
Sorry to interrupt you there, Cracks. Do you think we'll generally do that? Do you think we'll sign Phillips plus 1 or 2 experienced players? Do you generally think that?
That's the hope. That's what we've got to do. A lad's come up, and through circumstances will be at a reduced fee, a little bit like Jed Spence as well. So there's 2 of a back line that are somewhere near, somewhere around it. So that's exactly what you want. But as long as the club don't go, oh, that'll do, throw him in, because he won't be ready yet. But if you have a Romero and a Spence coming in and a Phillips there or somewhere, snapping at the heels of the first choices, that will concentrate the minds of those in that back 3, back 4 as we'll be playing. So as long as we do go out and get a couple of ready-to-go centre-backs, they're the type of lads that you exactly want coming in. And if you can do them at a good price because of certain circumstances, then bravo to the club, to be honest. I'm not saying they're going to be a first choice. Spence is a fantastic player. So let's get him back into the fold, back around the club, back ready to go, playing in cup games. It is exactly where you want us to be. If they come in and they're first choice, then give the club a bit of a kicking and go, hang on a minute, you've lowballed and filled that role on the cheap here. So Phillips is a player that we've been watching for a couple of years. We had a little sniff at him last year, didn't we? To be honest. So we've moaned that players are far too comfortable in their positions, haven't we? That, there's nobody up behind them. And if you're a player of 25, 26, and you've got a lad of 19, 20 out there as well, ready, hungry to go after your place, you're going to perform. Rick, it's like when you said that there's a young lad waiting to take the place on the pod. Ever since then, I've turned up for every show and tried to throw some analogies in, haven't I? I'm not giving up my place to some young whippersnapper. I'm going to give it a right good go here and try and stay on Last Word on Spurs. But no, that's where we want to be. I can't give the club a kicking for going out and getting some young raw talent that could actually kick on and develop, as long as they're not first choice. If we see them in the League Cup and the FA Cup games, with a balance of some senior players, maybe not this season because we've got no Europe. So I absolutely expect our best 11 to go out and play every round in those cups, every round. There's absolutely no excuse this year. No, I agree. That. There's no Kane on the bench at Sheffield United this year. No, when I fly over and come and do some nights, I'm not trudging up to some northern town where the sleet's sideways for me to see Kane sat on the bench or Sonny sat on the bench under blankets. I want to see them out there, going for it. So look, there's work to be done on that defence. It's a clown's car on fire. Can we get it smouldering this season? It might take a couple of seasons. can we just get the engine smouldering rather than licking flames around the cockpit?
Yeah. I just want to pick up on that point. I know Rich is keen to get back in. I just want to say on the Ashley Phillips signing, as long as it's a player that is being considered for the future and it's not for this predominant time right now, because I look at Tottenham at the moment and none of this defending will particularly surprise people today. It's unfortunately the same defenders plus Reguilon that shipped 60 goals last season and it's now been put into a back four. So it won't change without additions quickly. And I think that first 25 minutes today will have proven how badly we need to fix both the centre-back issue and dare I say even the left-back issue. And that's why, again, I will implore the club, the fact that, again, I'm not saying Tapsoba and Van der Ven will immediately come in and hit the ground running, but from those being identified as two players, you can't tell me that we'd be any worse off. My biggest concern for me is that these players have not been brought in and drafted in during the pre-season because they're now having to adapt late on to the way Postecoglou wants to play. And I think the key for any club, and I think, again, we criticise a lot of what happened with Conte last season, but the one thing we did see is Spurs move fairly early for a number of their targets. And they've done the same again. They brought Vicario in, to be credit to them. They brought Maddison in as well. But I think the thing is, if you said to any Spurs fan going into this summer, what are the key positions that we need to strengthen? I think 99.99% of people would have said centre-back. Along with goalkeeper, they would have said centre-back, defenders. And the fact we haven't done that is massively alarming. I mean, look, in terms of the rest of that first half, as we've said, there were some good moments from Tottenham. I think bar the two West Ham goals, Spurs fairly dominated that. Our best moments come really when we drew West Ham onto us and we played out through Vicario and Basuma. We worked the ball well to Maddison, who found Solomon. He cut inside, had a shot safe from the edge of the box. I will say I think Solomon was a real purposeful player today, running around with a purpose, looking to affect the game. I think that's what we wanted to see at Tottenham. We wanted to see players that actually come with a purpose, that are looking to really be productive in what they're doing. And Solomon showed that he wasn't afraid to get hold of the ball. We had some lovely stuff. And Rick Stephen go on furthermore with this. Spurs, we had 23 touches in the opposition box in the first half to West Ham's 3. So barring the 2 goals we conceded, I mean, look, we should have scored on more than one occasion that first half. We dominated a lot of the play. And I think, again, you look back and think that was a really positive first half, despite the fact we did concede 2, Ricks.
Yeah, positive first half, positive second half, bro. We scored 2 goals in the second half with our second string side. Do you know what I mean? There was a comeback there. There was a reaction. I just wanted to jump on what Crackers was saying there about this young boy, Phillips. Now, for me, this is the first time I've heard us even linked with Phillips. So I don't know how I've missed it, but maybe I just dismissed it. But my fear is that he turns into a rodent, right? My fear is that he gets all the hype and then he never plays the game. Cracks, you were saying there that he's going to be like on the heels of Romero and whoever else is going to be our first team centre-backs. I just saw there the tweet, the message that came in is that he's 18 years old. Bro, he's not getting no first team minutes right now. So whether they loan him back to Blackburn or whether they loan him out to Luton so that he can get some first team minutes, I don't see him getting any first team minutes unless our squad is barren. You've got to remember that Dyer's just said he's not going nowhere. And we've still got some sales to make in that back line and some additions. We need some big boys in there, And like I said about the whole Chelsea thing, is that money talks. So if Tapsoba and Van der Ven are going to transform that back line and even if it's cut it in half, those 63 goals, if they can cut it to 31 goals with these 2 signings, go and make that purchase. And that's why I'm not really overexcited. Yes, Maddison is an exciting signing, but I'm not excited about our business as yet because the things that we need the most are those 2 centre backs, and those centre backs that we've had, they've not been able to exceed expectation in a defensive formation or in an offensive formation. We've seen for the past 3-4 years under Mourinho, under Nuno, and under Conte that a lot of them haven't worked. And then today, to push them in to a back 4, and that's why I was actually impressed with Tanganga, to tell you the truth, because he looked the most comfortable. To me, he looked better than Dyer and Longley combined today, and that was only for 45 minutes. And I could see a potential. I could see him growing if given the chance. For me, if Tanganga was our 4th choice defender, I would be okay with that. Do you know what I mean? So we had Romero and another, and then we had another and Tanganga. I'd be fine with that. Do you know what I mean? Because I think there's something in there. But this boy Phillips, I just don't see him getting a shout right now. You know, we've only got league games and the cup games, as you said, they're crackers. I was going to jump on it, but you said it anyway. But those cup games are so important to us. And us having a serious cup run, us actually going for something this year domestically is a big thing to all of us fans this year. And it's going to be big for Ange as well. He's going to want to put his stick in the ground. He's going to want to show us that the times and the tide has changed. And we're going to compete and we're going to win. One thing that he said today in the after the post-match interview, and he done it on Spurs Play, and he basically the interviewer said to him, "Oh well, you know, I know it's only pre-season, and the results don't matter." He came back with, "Every result matters." I'm really impressed with how we played today, and if we didn't try to do the things that we'd implemented in this last week, then I would have been really disappointed. So yes, there are positives to the way that we played, but every result matters, which I loved. I loved hearing that from him. So somebody like an 18-year-old centre back, I just don't see, unless he's the Messi of the centre backs or the Mbappe of the centre backs, then I just don't see it happening. Do you know what I mean? So I just wanted to jump on that. So again, it's another kind of frustrating. It's positive, but it's frustrating because we want the two big boys at the centre back.
I just want to ask you guys very quickly, Cracks, do you want to come back in on that?
Yeah, just with Ange and talking about the results being important, let's not forget that we've had 4.5 years of managers that can be divisive, that have been a little bit self-centered at times, that want to be, there's a little bit of ego that goes on now. They want to be the star of the show. Don't underestimate that when a manager comes in that players buy into, there might be some now that don't quite get him, and then they'll fall by the wayside. But there could be players there that come in and absolutely love him. And all of a sudden, you're getting another 50, 60% out of them from what you was getting out of them under previous managers. So we could have some players that were absolutely all over the place previously that come in and absolutely tear it up. Football is played primarily up here, not in your feet. If you're happy and you're motivated and you love the manager that you play for, you will give a lot more than you did. Look at Lo Celso today. I mean, you know, previous managers couldn't get a tune out of him, could not get a tune out of him. And today, he looked like he was ready to tear it up. Now, this might be fantasy talk, but imagine if Dembele actually fancies it and actually enjoys playing under him. You've got a monster on your hands, an absolute monster. Look, football knows football. Gareth Bale said he was one of the most frightening talents he's ever seen. And we've seen it in glimpses. Now, I'm not for 1 minute saying he is going to come in and absolutely tear it up. But imagine if he does. Imagine if he does. He's a frightening prospect, absolutely frightening. So, you know, a lot of this is going to get played out this season and to see where we are. This is a real transition season, like it was under that first season with Poch. Let me see who buys into the philosophies. Let me see who buys into what I want to do. Let me see who's going to run through brick walls for me. So, look, we've only got to beat 8th and offer up something that looks like Tottenham Hotspur, and it's a better season already. Yeah. So, like I said to you a few weeks ago, Rick, on another show, we as fans also need to be patient with this. We're going to have to maybe take a couple of spankings here and there whilst this is being looked at. I know that social media's got no appetite for that at all. I've already seen stuff on social media today saying like, this is going to be a disaster. If Kane goes, we're going to be like in the Championship. We're not. We genuinely are not. If this clicks, there's the personnel there already to do very, very well.
Agree. I just want to summarise, Pat, if I can, with you on that, just to come to the end of that first half. I think it's well made with the point here that we actually played some really good stuff, multiple chances created. Again, I want to make that point that it's worth noting that was West Ham's third pre-season game of this season. So they already had played a couple, and there was already legs in the minutes of those players. They'll argue there's no internationals there at all for them, and they'll make that point. And of course, they're without Declan Rice. But again, with Tottenham, look, we're just getting going. It's a completely new system with a lot of players that are coming back to fit into a squad. In terms of very quickly, just the standouts from that first half. Look, I mean, ultimately, you'd probably say that Manor Solomon, was probably the most standout players. He really made a bright start to life at Tottenham. He linked up really well with Reguilon. He looked confident, direct with the ball. Had a couple of minutes on goal and was actually unlucky not to get a penalty, I thought, towards the end of that first half. He spoke about the fact that he wants to enjoy playing with Harry Kane. He says he's a big character. Everyone wants to follow him. He's a big, big player, and we hope to play with him. I'm really excited to play with such a big player like Harry Kane. It's an honour for me. I want to help him, and I want to learn from him as well. James Maddison, so we don't forget him. A couple of nice touches from James Maddison. Did send a free kick into the wall, but get out your system now for pre-season and be ready, of course, for the start of the season. Basuma, who we've touched upon as well, looks so confident, not just actually on the pitch, but off it as well. He's taken around the decks now in terms of the off-screen, as we've seen, and looks really, really at home, settled in the club. And again, defensively, we know where our problems are. We do know defensively where our problems are, so I don't want to focus too much on that, but maybe, Pat, just a couple of minutes on Manor Solomon and how you felt he done, and also maybe your thoughts on Harry Kane, because I think he looked a little bit off the pace for a lot of that game. But I think you made that point earlier. If Kane scores a goal, that's what he always judged upon. So standouts for you, Pat, player-wise in that first half before we bring in the second half.
I think you took the words right out of my mouth. I thought Manor Solomon, he surprised me because, to be fair, I wasn't really expecting much from him. Obviously, other players are coming with a bit more fanfare and, with the spotlight shined on them, i.e. the goalkeeper, Maddison. So Manor Solomon came in under the radar, a freebie from Fulham, a bit of obviously a foul taste from Shakhtar Donetsk, saying that they should have received some money for it, blah, blah, blah. But he looked bright, direct. He looks like a typical old-fashioned winger. Wants to hug the touchline, get on the ball, doesn't hide, and then take a man on and do something with it. So I really was impressed with him. Like you said, Basuma, I think he's going to show a new lease of life now this season. Show the reason why we spent the money we did from Brighton. He looks comfortable. He just looks, sometimes players need a year to bed in and really get to grips with their surrounding, their environment. Almost like feel like sometimes when a player comes in, they're a bit scared to be themselves because they feel they may be over trying or they don't want to step on anyone's toes. Now Basuma looks at home, like you said. You see him in the changing room, dancing, singing, tunes. Maddison's already said that he's told him he's the DJ to lay off the tunes, that Basuma's got the decks on lock. You just see him coming out of his shell. And sometimes, again, maybe under like Conte, who's more of an I can't even say the word, authoritarian, or however you say it. Like that kinda, there you go.
We got there. We'll get there.
Principal kind of manager, like someone that leads with an iron fist. Players might be scared to be themselves, where now you feel that he's showing his personality. So I thought he looked really good. Manor Solomon should have had a penalty. I know it's a friendly, but Jesus, how is that not a penalty? He took the shot and Jared Bowen cleaned him out. I've seen them given for less than that. I don't understand how that wasn't given. So that, for me, again, would have possibly changed the game. That should have been a pen. Maddison had a point-blank header in around about the 37th minute. Should have scored from there. But again, at least he's making that effort to get into the box. I love that intricate play that we did around about the 37th, 38th minute. It was a lovely bit of build-up where Basuma should have scored. So I think Maddison had the ball. Nice touch to Basuma. Basuma laid it off to Skip. Skip then touch pass it to Kane. Kane touch pass it to Basuma. One-on-one with the keeper. Had to go either left or right. He shot it straight at the keeper. Should have scored from there. I mean, we had so many chances. It was criminal that we went, in at the break 2-0 down. I didn't understand. I know it's pre-season, so I didn't actually really care, but I still didn't understand how we were 2-0 down at half time. We absolutely bossed that game. Yeah. And like you said, I think the passes, 330 passes to their 127 in the first half. 72% possession to their 28% possession. Touches in the opposition box, like you said, 23 touches for us, 3 or 4 for them. Like it was chalk and cheese.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Chalk and cheese. Yeah. So for that type of football to change so much, in one half is very impressive. And
Yeah.
obviously, I've not been Ange's biggest fan, but if he continues to play like that, what can I say? Like, honestly, that is, it's insane. And it's refreshing to see, because we've been playing such negative football for the last 2 or 3 years. So just to see attacking intent, see guys actually come out of their shell, even Oliver Skip, don't get me wrong, I don't think he's suited for that type of role, but to see him even try those things and get that far forward, that is impressive, because we've not seen that kind of player in the last 2 managers. So a lot of positives there. I really enjoyed what I saw today.
Yeah, I totally agree. What we are going to do, we are going to go for our next break of the show for our listeners and audio. Take me into that break. You're going to probably hear from, I think, as we've all agreed here, the standout player from that first half, Manor Solomon, who shares his delight at putting on that Spurs shirt for a first time. For our watching audience here, we've got around 1,200, 1,300 of you watching us live. Again, thank you so much for all of your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. I'm not going to do what I did on the last break. We're joined by Richard Cracknell. Back on the Last Word on Spurs. We're joined by British's very own actor, Ricky J. Norwood, and the superb Patrick Tyrant, who are guiding you through this Last Word on Spurs. Now, for all you bingo card callers there, this is also out to Ricky. Ricks, I'm very conscious of your time. So we are going to crack on as we do. Second half wise, it was a complete change in terms of the second half for Tottenham. So we had a whole new 11. We had Austin in goal. We had Davis. God, here we go again. Davis, Sanchez, Emerson, Udogie, Højbjerg, Salah, Celso, Perisic, Devine, Richarlison. And I think I think Pat said this earlier, or Rick said this earlier, forgive me guys, I'm not sure which one of you said it. It was basically the 2 teams from open training, except there was a few switches due to Son and Ndombele's absences. And to be fair, look, we saw a lovely bit of play from Spurs as soon as that half began. Sarr teed the ball up for Emerson, who volleyed over, and then subsequently on another quick chance, Lo Celso played a through ball into Richarlison's path, but his shot hit the outside of the right-hand post. And yet again, Spurs really pushing the pressure on West Ham, with Perisic curling across that Richarlison headed over. But Tottenham did eventually get a goal back into this game. Cracks, to come over to you. And it was a Giovanni Lo Celso. What a long time it's been his name on the Last Word on Spurs show. Alfie Devine shot, pushed behind. Perisic whipped in the ball. Sanchez's header found Lo Celso, who volleyed home. A lovely finish from Lo Celso. And Spurs, after all their chances, finally got a goal back. And I've got to say, Lo Celso at the time of scoring, he was so good since coming on. A completely different player, really, than what we've seen over the past year or two. What did you make of Lo Celso's overall contribution, Cracks? Does he still have a Spurs career?
Absolutely, he does, and he's a fine quality player. He turns out for the Argentinian national team. I mean, he is a good player. So this is what I'm saying. All of a sudden, if he's in a system that suits him, playing some front foot football, playing something that he enjoys, comes back, infused, wanting to play, then why not? Why not? It goes for every player in that team, every player. If all of a sudden you're a square peg and square peg football turns up, you are gonna fit in. So let's see. If he does, then he's the player that we bought under previous incumbents. It might not have actually suited him. So it just might not have been a place that he enjoyed being. And now he does. It doesn't matter what level of football you play. If you enjoy your football, you will play differently. You will play better. My lad, last season won the league, had a manager that they absolutely adored. Brilliant. Season before, 2 lads that run the team, nobody really liked playing for them. They finished 8th. So there you go. I mean, and we had no new players. This is 14s, 15-year-olds football. But if you get somebody that players absolutely buy into, then you will get a whole different tune out of them. So this is what I'm saying. This season, let's see where we are with a lot of these players that we've written off. Sure, there are some that you look at and you go, I'm not sure. Even if Pep Guardiola comes in, you're gonna tear it up. Maybe a lot of this is people coming in from overseas that just don't quite settle in the country. as well. There's a lot going on around other than football. I think maybe Brian Hill falls into that category a little bit on that front, Rick. I'm not sure whether he's actually enjoying life in London. I think he might be a little bit of a home bird, and it's maybe just not suiting him, because he is a great prospect, but it's difficult. Moving overseas is something that I've experienced myself. Moving overseas, however old you are, is difficult. It takes time to adjust. You need to get the vibe of where you're living. I'm still learning now. I've been in Lanzarote for 4 years, and I'm still learning the cultures and the ways and the this and the that and everything. So now amplify that by putting somebody into a football team that's on the telly every week, and the press that surrounds it, and the pressures that come with being a football. And there is pressures. I know they earn a lot of money, but there is pressures there. So you've got a lot of elements feeding in to these players settling. So yeah, Lo Celso today, fantastic, absolutely brilliant performance, but he just looks like he's enjoying himself. Udogie, I mean, he absolutely served Conte up today, didn't he? In his post-match presser, he was like, "Now I'm playing some football that I want to play. This is what I want to be doing as a footballer."
Cracks, wasn't there? The choice of words there, like you just said there. I just wonder if he knew exactly what he was saying, Cracks.
Oh, of course he did. He absolutely knew what he was saying, but he's enjoying his football. There's no divisiveness. There's no, malevolence going on, and I don't quite fancy you, and being dug out, and I'm not going to play you because you don't fit my system, and politics going on. So this one, everybody in that squad at the moment looks like they're happy that they're being given a chance. They look like that they're playing something that resembles the football that they want to play, and long may that continue. So it's, as I said earlier on, this is an interesting season. We might see some players by the end of this season where we go, blimey, we wanted him gone at the end of last season. Now he's first name on the team sheet. So there could be a hell of a lot of that going on.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on for sure. Pat, just to bring you back in, Spurs do quickly score a second goal. Perisic with the in-swinging left-footed corner and a lovely flicked header from Udogie. And at that point, all the goals to that point had been sparked by set pieces. A really clever header. And look, even though it's only pre-season, I think we all enjoyed the fact that bring it back level 2-2 and the way we did it so quickly. I think that tells you that whatever Ange Postecoglou said at the half-time, there was a reaction from the players. It was 11 straight changes. And I'll ask you, Pat, was you quite, I'd say again, pleased by how quick those players adapted, reacted? It was a fresh 11, and we scored 2 goals in the space of a couple of minutes, and we were level at the point during that game.
Yeah, definitely, because my fear was, even though it was pre-season, I didn't want us to get smashed in our first pre-season game, because that would have been the headlines that everyone would have ran with. Tottenham are in turmoil, new manager not ready, blah, blah, blah. And it's a tough pre-season game. West Ham are no mugs. They're a good Premier League team, and they're always up for playing us, irrespective of where it is and what level it's at. West Ham want to beat us, that's for certain. So I didn't want us to get smashed today. And I know it's pre-season, but you just don't want to start off on such a negative. So the fact that we came out complete fresh 11 for the second half, dare I say, probably the second string, still good players in there, but it's obviously you could see the quality did dip from the first to the second 11. But we scored in the 68th minute through Lo Celso, and then we scored in the 70th minute through Destiny Udogie, and we continuously or constantly put the pressure on them. Again, they didn't get out of their half. We were just peppering them, and it was good attacking football. You could clearly see who the better team was. The fact that that was our first game and each side's first 45 minutes, and we were way above them, and they've played 2 or 3 games before that with a manager who's been there for 3 years. A lot of those players are settled, they know their roles, and they've been there for a long time. So it was impressive to see that. Udogie looked really good. He impressed me. He was bombing down that wing. He looks solid as well. I know he's young, but he looks powerful. So I really like to see that. And Lo Celso, I mean, Jesus, this is a guy that we've all wanted gone. No one really cared about him. The thing is, for me, is if he wants to be here, he's a fantastic player, especially if we're going to play him in that number 8 role where he can roam, be creative.
He fits that role, Pat. Sorry, just to interrupt you. Fits like a glove, doesn't he, that role? If he wants to be here.
Like a glove. But my only concern, because I see a lot of people in the comments saying, you know, I wanted to stay and he's fantastic. But if he doesn't want to be here, with all due respect, then we need to get rid of him, because we don't want players that don't want to be here, irrespective of how good you are. If you're not willing to buy into the new team, the new system, the new manager, and really, I mean, at the moment, we need a team that is all singing off the same hymn sheet and all fighting for the same cause. So if he doesn't want to be here, then unfortunately, as talented as he is, we've not seen the best of him yet. It is time to, you know, part ways and get players in that do want to be here. But if he does want to be here, then he's somebody that I didn't even really think of that could be such a key player for us. And it's the same with Ndombele. I am an Ndom believer. I do believe he will have a good season this season. I think he's fantastic. I think he's skillful. But again, if he doesn't want to be and he's not willing to die for the shirt and really put a shift in, he's someone that I'm going to have to unfortunately say, you know, your time is now up. But I do think under an attacking manager like Ange, you're going to see a lot of players that we thought maybe were on the wayside or on the way out really have a new lease of life. Yeah. That isn't me by any shape of the imagination saying that the defenders are going to get a second chance. No, we need a whole new centre-back pairing. For me, we need Mickey van der Ven and we need Tapsoba. We need both of them. Like, if we really want to crack at this whip and push, I believe that we can slyly maybe get in the top 4 if other teams fall off. But I do believe we shouldn't be finishing any lower than 6, as long as we strengthen that back line. Yeah. I think if we only go for one, we go for Mickey van der Ven, because I just think he's a bit more flexible and adaptable if we're only going to go for one. He's a bit rawer than Tapsoba, but I think he'll be so good on the left, you know, side as an LCB or a left back. But obviously, if you go for just one defender, I'd probably go for him. Tapsoba is the better defender, but I just think Mickey van der Ven is a bit more versatile if we're going to use him as, you know, in that 2 role. But for me, I think we need both of them. And then you can partner one with Romero. You can switch things around. If Romero does get an injury, because he is prone to a knock, then you still got another quality centre-back behind him. I think the left back, if we get Mickey van der Ven, is sorted. Right back, I think we got good options. And then I think throughout the rest of the team, we are looking okay. But we just need the centre-backs to be fixed. We can't go into the new season with Dyer, Sanchez, Lenglet, these kind of guys. With all due respect, I don't want to be horrible to anyone, but they're not good enough. They're just not at the level that we need.
I think we've seen that today, Pat, haven't we? You know, it's 63 goals conceded last season, and you add Reguilon into that as well today. I mean, Rick, I don't want to be negative. You have to unfortunately take this one. West Ham do score again. Scamacca gets in behind Sanchez. On's a very good pass from Fornals. He buries it past Austin. And again, I think we've said this so many times, and it's not to be personal on players here. Again, it's only a friendly, but Sanchez was caught in absolute no man's land, not knowing whether really to attack the ball or to backtrack to the player. Got caught out. And I think that was the biggest negative takeaway today, of course, was the weak defence. And I think the biggest concern for me, Rick, is that West Ham really, they weren't even pressing us. And I think, you know, it's going to be a whole different ball game in 4 or 5 weeks' time. And you've got Brentford coming with their set pieces. They're going to put pressure on us with a new goalkeeper in Vicario. They're going to be chasing down every ball in the build-up to it. And I think we've seen today, on a positive, we've got the glimpses of what Ange can deliver with the ball. That is most certainly what we can see. We can see what we can be delivering with the ball. But I think this is now, I don't know if you agree, Rick, now on the football club to give the manager the tools to finish the job that he started in terms of the rebuild and recruitment model. Because we've all said here, and Cracks has said, you know, Ashley Phillips, he might be one that could work, you know, as a young player coming in. But most certainly, when you look at the defensive options we've got right now, and you look at the way we've considered the goals today, we need, for me, arguably not one, but 2 prominent defenders that are ready to step in for Premier League football and hit the ground running. And that's my biggest worry. Like, again, I want to try and be positive, but my worry is that so far during this summer transfer window, the players that we need are not here yet. And already you're playing a little bit of catch up, because ultimately you've got players that are coming in later down the line when there's only a couple of games to go in terms of pre-season. They've got to get to know their teammates, get to know the goalkeeper, which I think Pat alluded to earlier. So how important, Rick, would you say these next 4 or 5 weeks are, less than that even, I think less than a month away, of getting these players in so they can work not only with the manager, but with the players too that want to be here?
Yeah, no, it's super important, Rick. It is super. I would have loved at least one of them to be on the plane to go out there to Australia on the Friday, you know, at least one of them. But yeah, it's really important that they do it sooner rather than later, because again, like you said, in integration, to get to know your teammates, to get to know patterns of play. You saw today that Ange said, like I said earlier, that a lot of the players didn't know what positions to be in once they started transitioning. So the quicker you get these new defenders in, the quicker they can bed in, the quicker we could start moving forward. So it is super, like we've all said, and like every Spurs fan knows, Mourinho asked for Skriniar, didn't get him, and that was a defensive system. Conte asked for Bastoni, didn't get him, and that was supposed to be a defensive system. Stop making the mistakes, and the board have to. The board, if anything, if the crowd last year that was shouting Levy out and ENIC out last year, if they have got any sense, they've got to stop making the same mistakes which they've made year in, year out for more than a couple of seasons now. So we all know, right? We talk about second chances, and I'll get into second chances in a minute, but we all know that a lot of those defenders that we've all mentioned, for their benefit, they need to move forward and they need to move on. Also for our benefit, and we need the same kind of freshness, energy, hunger, want, and desire that we saw in Solomon today. We need to see that in two new defenders that come in, and fingers crossed it is Tapsoba and it is Mickey van der Ven, because I think both of them together would be the pieces of the jigsaw that we need to bloody well put in to nearly complete it, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? On second chance, before I kick, on second chances, what Crack said and what Pat has said as well. If anything, I know a lot of us, if not all of us, have watched the Dele Alli documentary, right? And in his decline, it was one of the saddest things for a Tottenham fan to see, for me to see. I love Dele to bits, and all I could see him doing was getting bigger and better and being one of those world-beating players. Do you know what I mean? Those world-class, world-beating players. And when you see and when you hear the amount of things that boy's gone through, and now listen, it might have happened in childhood. He might have had a bit of a career, but a lot of those scars, if they cut really deep, doesn't matter how much money you have, they're going to come back to the surface. They're going to come back to the surface. They're going to be things that you're going to have to deal with. Sometimes some of the scars are outside of your control. We all know we can't choose our family, right? And a lot of our families are good people, but there are some in our family that would be a little bit comme ci comme ça. Do you know what I mean? Or there would be like some trouble, and sometimes you can't control that, especially when you're the one in the limelight, especially when you're the one earning the bucks. So with Lo Celso, with Ndombele, especially because those two have got it off of me as well. I thought Ndombele was going to be the midfielder that was going to take us to a new level and new heights, and I thought he was going to destroy the league when he first came in, and that was a great disappointment to not see him do that. But on these two players, we don't know what they were going through mentally. We don't know what was happening in their household or in their family households. We don't know what pressures they were put under. We don't know what kind of negative bits of energy that the managers that were in charge at that time put them under. Again, going back to Dele, look at what you said about the change between Pochettino and Mourinho. Pochettino was interested in him as a man first and then a player. And Mourinho didn't have time for that. He's like, you're wasting your time, you're lazy. Do you know what I mean? And then we found out in that documentary a week or so later, he actually apologized for saying lazy. But we didn't see that as a fan base, and we didn't see that as an audience member. So all of those negative connotations that are then used in papers and in blogs and in write-ups and in tweets, do you know what I mean? Like, those become the truth, and it was far from the truth. And I'm not saying in the middle of your storm you should expose yourself and let everybody know what's going on in your life. You have to deal with those things in life, and you have to get over them, and you have to kind of exorcise those demons yourself and look at them in the face before you can admit it to anybody. So fingers crossed, a man manager like Ange Postecoglou, who looks like a person that, he's not just jolly. I don't think you can take the Berties out of him.
No,
and get away with it. But at the same time, I think he's interested in the man that is playing on that field first, and then the player second. And fingers crossed, these players that we want to give second chance to, or want to take their second chance, hopefully he's the man that can guide them and that can help them reach new heights in the Tottenham shirt.
Yeah, agreed. Rick, I know we're very conscious of time. I want to close it on Postecoglou quotes and we're going to let everybody go. And before I do, just again, a couple of standout moments from that second half in terms of player-wise. Perisic, a man that's been linked with potentially leaving Tottenham, terminate his contract heading back to Croatia. Again today, he's pivotal in terms of the 2 goals from set pieces. And I think I've got to say, I think it was really impressive on that left wing. It'll be interesting to see under Ange Postecoglou if he has got a future, because I've got to say, he ran his heart out in that second half for Tottenham. Of course, it's only a friendly. You don't want to get too carried away. But look, I've got to say, his dead ball delivery is incredible. You have to say that, despite, how maybe we felt let down by his lack of pace last season and then productivity. Again, I think today showed he's got that delivery that is, second to none, really. Destiny Udogie, we've touched upon, raiding up and down the left-hand flank. Again, got his goal. Looked really bright in his first display for Tottenham. I think touched upon earlier, Pat Matassar, a tidy display in a midfield free. He broke forward whenever he could as well. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, of course, linked with a move away from the football club. He, of course, played. He was more of an anchor man today. Used the ball well, won the ball back, but was involved, unfortunately, in West Ham scoring that 3rd goal. Lo Celso, as we've discussed, really, it'll be interesting to see how his future pans out in these next few weeks. There are talks of Napoli being interested in him. But as we've all alluded to, I think he does fit that advanced 8 role like a glove. So, it'll be interesting to see. Look, today he racked up 3 key passes and a goal in the 45 minutes. It's very, very early days, but it's one, of course, to keep an eye on. Alfie Devine, he's not normally a winger, but he looked a lot more bright as we've seen him today. He would have impressed, I'm sure, Postecoglou, and it's one to keep an eye on. I think when you look at that youth coming through now, you've got Udogie, Sarr, Devine. There is some really, really bright shoots to come in terms of the youth players at Tottenham. And John Wenham would know that, of course, over at the White Rose. Richarlison, I don't really want to be negative about a player, but he was struggling with the offsides, wasn't he, today, Richarlison? And I just wonder, it's such a big, big season for him coming up where there's a lot of speculation around Harry Kane and some saying, well, Richarlison is Brazil's number 9. Can he step up to be Tottenham's number 9? I'm not sure. That's a big, big role to fill. Has he got 30 goals in him? I think, again, it remains to be seen. But maybe before we pass comment on Richarlison, let's see how he does do in, of course, these remaining games of pre-season and go from there. But we're going to close it, guys, on some quotes from Ange Postecoglou. And Pat, I'll start with you. After the game, he said, we've been working really hard in training. I didn't expect the lads to be super sharp because this stage we're just getting to conditioning, but we've been working on some stuff. We want to show some of it that's out there. I think in both halves, there's a real willingness from the boys to put in place the stuff we've been working on. At times it looked good, but we're still very much in the infancy of trying to establish the way we want to play and our structures. But for me, the key thing is they are trying, and that's the boys, to implement it. And for the most part, it was really good. So Pat, to close this certain subject with you, for you on Postecoglou, how impressed was you overall with today? And maybe how excited are you to see what changes we might see for Leicester at the weekend?
Yeah, no, as I said before earlier, I'm definitely impressed with what he's done, considering he's not been here long. Some of the guys have only been here for 3 or 4 days. I mean, Harry Kane came back, last Wednesday, I believe. And so essentially that's less than a week. So it's really impressive to see what he's done in such a short turnaround. You did speak on Richarlison, and I feel Richarlison definitely has it in him to get 15 goals a season, but he just needs to relax. It's like he's trying too hard. He's snatching at chances. He's obviously just a bit too far advanced on the last shoulder. He's just overdoing it. And, he's talked a lot of talk. He's talked the big talk over the summer, saying that he knows that Spurs paid a lot of money for him. He needs to impress now. He also said that he went through a lot of things off the field and now he feels more settled and blah, blah, blah. But he just needs to relax a bit, just chill out. He's almost trying too hard and you can see it. I mean, he had a good chance where he hit the outside of the post / crossbar, and then other chances where he, again, fluffed his lines, didn't deliver. I think he had a chance in the 85th minute and he headed it directly at the keeper. Very tame, and he should have done better. I mean, we had so many chances. We should have, let alone drawing the game, we should have easily won that game. But that goes back to Ange Postecoglou essentially putting players in the right position. I think that's one of the main things for me, is that he's allowing players to play where they feel comfortable. So Perisic not having to do all that defensive running up and down and playing as a left wing back when you can see the guy can't defend and doesn't have the legs. He's pushed him further forward. Like Ricky said before, where we've got inverted fullbacks, or well, they're not fullbacks now, they're left back and a right back, and one person will drop deep and defend on the opposite side, and then the other flank push them forward. The Celso playing in his preferred position, Basuma looking more natural playing in the preferred position. Yeah, so it's just, you know, being smart and using the tools that you do have to the best of their abilities. And, you know, I saw someone in the comments say about, I said second string and first string regarding, like, you know, the first half for me, I felt was a stronger team. And in the second half, not the weaker team, but essentially players that you would feel wouldn't really start in our first competitive game if our first game was tomorrow. Obviously, people like the Celso have definitely given the manager something to think about. But yeah, I mean, all I want to see now is desire, commitment, obviously skill, passion, understanding, and people really giving the manager something to think about, and obviously pushing for a place in that starting 11. We all know we need, I mean, I just hope and pray that Daniel Levy has a plan to get some centre-backs in, because we can't start our first game Brentford away with these centre-backs. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I'm impressed. I'm excited to see what happens next. It's annoying that we play Leicester now and they're a relegated team, because if we smash them, people are going to say, oh, they're crap, they're relegation fodder and blah. I would have preferred to play a Premier League team, but it is what it is. I guess when this was arranged, they were probably in the Premier League, and it is what it is now.
I dare ask you, Pat, were you thinking of the Lion City Sailors and anything worried about Leicester City? Jesus Christ, my God.
Well, they again, Roma should have been there, shouldn't they? So it's
it should be. Yeah. Pat, it's always a pleasure, my friend. You are of course back with us on Sunday, of course, for Leicester. Pat, where can we find you? If they don't know where to find you already, where can we find you across the socials? Yeah,
so if you can find me on Twitter, Patrick Tyrant, it's down there. If you follow me there, you'll see all the stuff I'm working on, like podcast-wise and stuff. So yeah, just interact with me online, and then we can keep it cracking. But yeah, it's a pleasure. Ricky, it's been great to be on my first pod with you. I can't believe we haven't done it sooner. And obviously, Crackers, you're always a gent. And Ricky, yeah, you're the man.
I wonder if you and Ricks will share the same design, depending on if you see each other in the cups next year. God help you both. Jesus Christ. Ricks, let's go over to you, mate. I have to say massively thank you. We're running over the time that we'd always would. Bless you. Thank you so much for giving us so much of your time. Ricks, I just want to pick up on one quote that came from Postecoglou. And, you know, it's really interesting. In the last 3.5 years, we've not really had managers take responsibility for actions and stuff going wrong. And he was asked today, you know, you talked about things to work on. Is that defensive things? He said, partly that. The goals we conceded are partly on me. We haven't done loads of work on those kind of defensive areas and structures around set pieces. And I can't expect the guys to take everything on board. I thought for the most part, defensively, the pressure was really good. We didn't allow too many chances, as you said. But isn't it refreshing, Ricks? I mean, we've been here a long, long time with different managers that are very much quick to push back on any kind of criticism. And here's Postecoglou, day one of his first Spurs game, taking responsibility, saying, I got that wrong. I don't think I'm going to get used to this, Ricks. Are you?
No, I mean, we got to. He's here for 4 years, you know, he's got a 4-year contract, so we got to. And it's refreshing. We've needed somebody like that. I think we all needed that. I think the lads needed that are in that squad right now. I think we needed it as a fan base. I think the club needed it. You know, when Patrick was talking earlier there about Basuma kind of taking over the speaker, you know, he's being allowed to express himself and have a smile on his face without it being disrespectful in some managers' eyes. So for a manager to come in and actually take responsibility for the things that he considers were on him, that's a beautiful thing, rather than just chucking it at the players. You know, they're not good enough. Think about what was being said after that Southampton game. You know what I mean? We didn't really see much of that today. Do you know what I mean? And yes, it's only 45 minutes, you know, per team that we've seen, you know, the first team and the second team in quotation marks. But there was so much good to see there, and it's so much. Every time I hear Ange speak, I'm more impressed by him, and I'm more kind of enamored with him every single time, man. And I expect them to do the same thing against Leicester. 45 minutes one team, 45 minutes the other team. Keep testing them, keep pushing them. Those players that want to be there, they will show up. Those that don't, they will not be there. Those that can't handle it will be left training with whoever back at wherever they are in whatever country. Do you know what I mean? But good times ahead. I think it's good times ahead for Tottenham Hotspur, and fingers crossed we've got more smiles on these pods, you know, for the future and the coming games, you know.
Absolutely. Rix, it is always a pleasure having you on. We're going to try and nab you if we can for more pre-season games before the season starts. Of course, we'll be sharing you for sure. Rix, anything in the diary worth coming up audition-wise? Anything you want to give us a mention to theatre-wise? Where we can find you at the moment? Or is it a case of just waiting and seeing?
Yeah, so I've got an audition right now that I'm actually trying to study for. It's a hell of a long monologue, and that's just scene one, like 3 pages of dialogue without any interaction from another character, which is a lot. It's a lot of mental madness. So I can't say about auditions, but I did do a bit of filming about 2-3 weeks ago. Again, I'm not allowed to say a thing about it, but as soon as it does drop, I'm sure all of you will know. And it'll be exciting times, and I'll speak about it then. But yeah, good things coming, brother. And always an honor and pleasure being on with yourself, with Patrick, first time, and the man, the myth, the legend that is Crackers. Do you know what I mean? So, and another thing before I leave as well, Crackers was getting some rubbish online for when he actually kind of took back some things that he said about Dele Alli after that Dele Alli documentary, and people got on his case, and I just can't understand it, right? You know, in life, right? Muhammad Ali said, in life, okay, if you believe the same thing at 30 than you do at 60, then you've wasted 30 years of your life, all right? So the fact that Crackers, as a man, could concede defeat and go, you know what, I was wrong in my opinion at that moment in time, which we will all be wrong in our opinion, especially when it comes down to football, because it does it to you. Right, it does it to you. The fact that he could do that was massive, and the fact that some people were getting him was just mind-blowing to me. So Cracks, carry on being the man, big man that you are, and carry on leading the way that you lead, and carry on saying what you believe in. And if those things change, I love the fact that you kind of can stand up and admit when you believe that your word was wrong at that point, and then change your opinion, because that's what life is. It's not about staying on one opinion. It's not about just digging your heels in and waiting for your confirmation bias. So for something to mess up so that you're right. Life is not about that, man. Life is about seeing where you're wrong, seeing where you've messed up, seeing where you can improve, and making it right without ego. Well done, Cracks. We've got a lot of love for you, brother.
Thank you, Rick. That's very kind of you. Yes, nice of you to say that. Thank you.
Joe, I mean, what a closing episode that is, really, of it. I mean, Cracks, look, I'll just say to you, maybe give us a rallying cry ahead of what we've seen on the back of 90 minutes today from Postecoglou's Tottenham. How excited should we be to the future now, Cracks? You've been here for the last 4 years, same as Rick's. We've experienced a lot of negative football. I think we've had some really, really difficult shows that we've had to cover on Last Word on Spurs. Do you get a feeling now that the tide is starting to change and we've got a lot of optimism, positive shows to look forward to, Cracks?
Well, look, one of my silly analogies, Tottenham is a beach boy. It's just a lad with long tussly hair and a pair of Bermuda shorts and a surfboard. And for the last 3-4 years, we've just found ourselves like in Iceland or Lapland or Norway, just looking around with the surfboard under our arm going, I don't think I quite belong here. And Ange coming along has put us somewhere near a beach. So like the sun's just a little bit shining. You can hear the ocean. You can see the beach. There's some seagulls flying about. So look, we're not on the beach surfing yet, but we seem to be somewhere in the southern hemisphere now, with a little bit of warmth and a little bit of the sea you can hear in the distance. So look, we might not make the beach with Ange, but we're not in Lapland either now, are we? Just by having him there, we look like that we're just somewhere where we should be. His philosophies, that won't change. Ange's philosophies and what he wants to be and the way he manages won't change. And I kind of think that his philosophies fit Tottenham Hotspur. So, look, it's got half a chance of working. It really has. With a bit of buy-in from everybody, then we might just have something on our hands. I'll temper it with, if we have, will the board go with him as well? Will the board give him the tools to work with? And I don't want Ange to fall into the same trap that Pochettino did of being a bit of a bulletproof vest for for the board. You know, today saying, look, I didn't really put it into the lads at the back to defend set pieces, and that's on me. You know, if they're not good enough and he has put it into them, then he needs to say that. Then he needs to say, you know, in a roundabout way, these players aren't good enough to do what I want, and I need the furniture in the house. So, so as long as he doesn't fall into that trap of keep protecting the board, then we might just have something on our hands. I'm more optimistic now than I've been for a little while. So we might just, Rick, have you not phoning me going, sorry, Cracks, to put you through this again tonight.
How many times did I send that message towards the end of the season to all of you? I feel so bad.
I'm really sorry to be putting you through this. And
I'm
missing Love Island you normally finish that with as well. And there's a couple in tonight. And we've had 30% possession. We've been terrible. I'm missing Love Island, and I'm putting you through all this. See you later. See you at 8 o'clock.
Oh my God.
Love Rick.
Well, I tell you what, let's hope there are more positive things. Cracks, thank you so much for that analogy. Guys, we have been the last one on Spurs. I must say, from, again, the wonderful Richard Cracknell. Rich, thank you so much, my friend. You're back with us very, very soon. The wonderful Ricky J. Norwood, who I think a lot will resemble with Rick's very, very kind words there to send your Cracknells and more. Ricks, thank you so much. And the wonderful Patrick Tyrant on this last one on Spurs. Guys, from us all, thank you so much for all of your incredible support. As always, keep the faith. And God, we've got some stuff to look forward to. And as always, come on, you